Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second seminar within the Nordic Battery Thursdays, a series dedicated to the booming battery industry and the Nordic collaboration. In the lithium-ion battery supply chain ranking just updated by Bloomberg, Sweden, Finland and Norway are ranked as the number 4, 6 and 7. If we would kind of combine those rankings, I'm sure we would be even higher up, even though I guess China and the US are tough to beat. We hope with this seminar see why the Nordics are already well positioned and where we also going to be well positioned in the future. My name is Olof Hemström. This series are from a collaboration between Business Sweden, Business Finland, Innovation Norway, and the European Battery Alliance. And I am at Business Sweden, head of the business ecosystems for energy and transportation. I hope we will have a really rewarding 1+ hours ahead. We have really interesting, strong panelists today focusing on the active companies, both in the battery production and also driving the applications of batteries. I'm sure that you find the website that we have set up for these Battery Thursdays, as you can see us now. But I also would like to once again stress, use the actual features that we do have there. We have, at least when I looked yesterday, 576 participants registered, and all of those you can see individual profiles, and you can also see a little bit about the product and services that we hope that you will meet and match up. And the other part is, of course, also to interact. We will have panels, but of course we need your input, your also questions and comments. So please use the chat meanwhile during this whole session. First of all, before we actually open up the first panel, I would like to turn to Jessica Olsson, my colleague and trade commissioner in Norway, who also been heading up this Nordic collaboration between us in Finland, Norway and Sweden. You've also been part of also looking a little bit deeper into the Nordic battery value chain. But first, Jessica, first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining. But also, I think we had a really interesting first session then in Helsinki, Finland. What is your reflections from that first session that kind of kicked off these webinars?
Yeah, thank you, Olof, and thank you for today. I think it's going to be really interesting, just as you said. And reflecting on last time, well, first of all, it was great that we had such a high number of viewers and interactions, both during the webinar and also after through the recording that we did. This really shows the relevance of the Nordic battery industry, I think. And as it was the first of our 4 Nordic Battery Thursdays, I am glad it provided us with an overview of the progress and the importance of this industry. Bo Normark from InnoEnergy and European Battery Alliance concluded what has happened in Europe since 2017. That's not very long ago. And what stands out is really the speed, the sustainability, and the importance of focusing on the full value chain. The transition of electrical vehicles in Europe is going faster than expected, and focus on value chain and cross-sector approach has been fundamental to accelerate the industry. And all parts of the value chain with the industry, political policies and consumers have made it clear that sustainability is not an option, it's a cornerstone of batteries. And this is a new industry to Europe, of course. It isn't done developing yet. So the crucial need that we have ahead is definitely raw materials and active materials. That was some of my thoughts, Olof.
Thank you.
On the first.
Really interesting perspectives there. And I think the exciting times, true bedside stories for us to tell to our grandchildren on this journey that we're on now in the electrification and battery journey. But please tell us a little bit more. You've also been looking a little bit deeper into the Nordic battery chain. Can you just give some short highlights out of that?
Yes, and I think this was highlighted also by the strength of agreement among our CEOs from Business Finland, Innovation Norway, and Business Sweden that was with us last time, and about the importance and the potential of the battery industry to all our countries here in the Nordics. And we are proud of the many foreign and domestic investments that have been made, and how they all strengthen the business case actually in the Nordics and from the Nordics. And at the same time, what we have concluded is that this new industry value chain include global leading industry that already exists in our countries. For example, automotive, maritime, manufacturing, mining, chemicals, power grids, electric power lines, and so on. And I was happy that the CEOs last time highlighted a couple of things typical for the Nordics that is often used as why do business in and with the Nordics. The high standards for sustainability. The clean and affordable energy, crucial for this energy intense industry. Digital innovations, leading R&D, and the ever so typical Nordic, the triple helix partnerships. So this was really, and I think we have a picture on it as well on the value chain that we can show you here. And what was mentioned from many of the panelists, but also from many of the companies that we have been in contact with throughout this year, that the Nordic region has a strong momentum. We have key actors in all parts of the value chain and continuous inflow of foreign investments. And I think all of this is what makes the panels of today so interesting. And I really look forward to hear the reflections from how the two, if you can say and call them the motors of the value chain, the cell production and the application, really drive sustainability and innovation, of course, together with its suppliers, partners, and customers.
Thank you very much, Jessica, both for that kind of recap and perspectives. And as we said last time as well, if you want to dig deeper into these reports, you can actually find them on the website, the one that Jessica just showed quickly the picture of, with all the companies that we found so far, which we hope to become much more, both international and also startups from our end in the Nordics. Thank you, Jessica. I think let us listen into that first panel and the perspectives of some of these companies who really are leading the, first of all, the cell production and the sustainability and the innovation that drive that we have here in the Nordics. So I'm really happy here to have four really strong panelists, and I'm first just going to introduce them. First, we have Anders Thor, External Affairs at Northvolt. Northvolt, I think you all know, our first gigafactory in the Nordics and one of the first also here in Europe with a high sustainable niche. We have Tom Jensson, CEO at Freyr. Hi, Tom. A Norwegian emerging producer of clean battery solutions, also within lithium-ion battery production. And then also really happened to have Stian Matshus, who is from Vianode, General Manager, an Elken company and producer of sustainable engineered battery materials. And finally, also kind of completing that with the whole value chain, also really happy to have Vesa Koivisto, Senior Vice President at the Finnish Minerals Group, a state mining shareholding company, developing also the Finnish value chain and also working with the technical development. Thank you all for joining such an interesting panel, and let's get into the actual discussion. First of all, I did a very brief introduction. I think it's easy to kind of touch base on where you are at the moment. So Anders, Northvolt has really been pioneering now in Sweden and Europe, establishing production and thinking green about the whole value chain. Tell us a little bit, where are you now? Are you about to go into real full production now, Anders?
Yes, we actually have been producing batteries in Västerås at Northvolt Labs since 2019. But those are mainly prototypes, and then now we're gearing up for start of production in Skellefteå at Northvolt 1. So we'll probably see a battery coming out there, like the first symbolic battery by the end of the year, and then we'll ramp up our production in our first 16 gigawatt hours production lines during next year. That's going on right now. We have around 2,300 construction workers at site and 400 hired in production, and we're hiring between 50 and 100 people per month, which is hectic hectic time, but that will continue actually throughout the year. So we'll be 500 by the end of the year, 1,500 by the end of next year. Meanwhile, we're also doing site selection for our next factory together with Volvo, and also doing site selection for a factory in Germany. We're also expanding our battery system production in Gdansk, and building another big factory there, and expanding our recycling production as well, which is in Norway in a project called Hydrovolt, but also in Skellefteå, where we're launching the first kind of giga-scale recycling facilities.
Really,
I think
that recycling topic we would like actually to come back to very soon, which I know you also already they are active in and a very important part of the sustainable actions. Tom, Norway has really started to take position now in the battery production here. And we heard a little bit about your exciting plans, both in Norway and Finland and maybe beyond. Tell us a little bit where you are now in the journey with FREYR.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing us to participate in this prestigious event. And congratulations to Northvolt, of course, an inspiration to all of us in the battery value chain, and kudos to everything that you have done. Now, when it comes to FREYR, we are moving fast forward. We went public on the New York Stock Exchange earlier this year, raised about $700 million in that, which is a good starting point, but not by any standards enough for all the plans we have. We have plans to build up to 83 gigawatt hours of capacity by 2028. And that is what we raised capital on. And that had the underlying plan of building 5 factories in Mo i Rana, the first of which we have made the investment decision on. It's inside an existing 13,000 square meter large building, where we're implementing the first industrial scale production line of the technology solution that we are going to use. So that decision has been made. We also earlier this year announced that we are moving into Finland. Also announced a partnership with Vesa and the team at FMG, very happy with that, and also a relationship with GigaVaasa for development of gigafactories in Finland. And finally, 3 weeks ago, we announced that we are entering into a joint venture company with Koch Strategic Platforms, the largest private held company in the US, to build up to 50 gigawatt hours of capacity in the US. All of this will be based on, let's call it next generation lithium-ion battery cell technology. We have selected 24M Technologies as the licensing or in-license technology in that regard, which we believe is a step change in how lithium-ion batteries are designed and produced, which offers very deep sustainability aspirations and perspectives as well. So we are moving fast forward. We have multiple sort of agenda points that we are progressing on, and we're super happy to be part of the Nordic ecosystem and look forward to this debate.
Thank you, Tom, and really exciting journey. And we're really looking forward to those first steps also in Mo i Rana and the exciting journey going forward. Good. Stian, we at least state that one of our strengths in the Nordics is the access to input material. And of course, the whole key here is the battery active material. Tell us a little bit on what you are doing at Vianode now and Elkem.
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in this panel. And as we hear, there are some huge plans here from Anders and Tom. So all these cells need a lot of active input materials. Just start with today's production value chain for battery anode materials is not sustainable with the huge volumes that are needed going forward. And Vianode will change this. The graphite, which makes up the active anode material, is a critical part of the battery cell, and it's directly influencing important properties such as energy density, how far you can drive on a charge, how fast you can charge your battery, the lifetime of the battery, and also there are important safety aspects. So today, European cell manufacturing is totally dependent on Asian imports for this, materials that often come with a huge environmental footprint. This is really a significant contribution to the overall CO2 footprint of battery production. So from life cycle assessment studies that we have carried out, we see that our localized sustainable production of battery materials can enable actually a 94% reduction in CO2 footprint of these materials compared to conventional production of synthetic graphite. Vinode is part of the global materials company Elkem. We got more than 100 years of experience in developing advanced materials and also large-scale manufacturing. So Vinode has been established as a separate company owned by Elkem to focus our activities in battery anode materials. It's all about speed and scale here. We're now going through a pilot phase, then a fast track phase, and then large-scale production that we're planning in Norway. Vinode is already in business. We started operating our industrial pilot plant in Kristiansand in April this year. And we're now in advanced dialogues with battery value chain participants and qualifying our products with leading cell manufacturers. So very exciting journey. We're part of it.
Thank you, Stian. 94% reduce CO2 emissions. I think that's very impressive, and looking forward to hear a bit more about that in this sustainability discussion. And then Vesa, you have the total value chain view here, but from the CAM that Stian told us about, you're working even deeper in the value chain, but also partnering up a little bit with Frey and others. Tell us a bit on where you are, Vesa here.
Great, thank you, and also from my side, thank you for the opportunity to join this event. So, just as a brief background, so on FMG, so we work on a rather long part of the battery value chain. Our roots are in the mining and minerals side, and refining the minerals into the respective chemicals, where we are the mother company of Terrafame, which is Europe's largest nickel producer and one of the only cobalt producers right now, transforming all of their nickel and cobalt to the relevant battery chemicals called sulfates. We also have in the mining side projects on the lithium side, the leading integrated lithium project coming from Kaustinen and Kokkola, hopefully in the future. And building on that, as those happen to be the main cathode material, raw materials, this is then a logical step that we want to take forward together with partners. So we don't have the own technology, so we have chosen a strategy to partner up with leading technology companies to develop these industries in Finland and for the European needs. And we currently have cathode active material and precursor production projects both in Kotka and Hamina in southeastern part of Finland, moving strongly forward. Then we have a separate project in Vaasa with a British company, Johnson Matthey, also aiming to produce cathode active material as an integrated plant there. And as a neighboring property to this Johnson Matthey, Freyr has chosen a very, very good location in Vaasa to set up a operation, and we're collaborating deeply with Freyr to support and co-develop that side for the battery cell production. So basically, we are trying to catalyze and develop this value chain, which is now urgently needed for the European market.
Very good. Thank you very much, Vesa, and really interesting, I think, with what you're doing in your actual projects, and of course with the cobalt that you already had out of the ground. We hope to see more of that in the Nordics, and we know the projects are coming, and the whole kind of total value chain approach. So now we know who are in the panelists and what journey they're on. And as we said when we started this seminar, one of the reasons why we do this is because we think that we have so much in common in the Nordics, and of course also that the Nordic is a good place for the battery industry. So now I just would like to maybe double click a little bit on that. Anders, you at Northvolt here, you started a bit of a trend by then deciding on, as the first step, to start in Sweden. Why is that, Sweden and the Nordics?
I think you actually touched on it earlier. You need a lot of energy to produce batteries and a lot of clean energy. But that's also kind of like the fun development of this. And I think we'll maybe touch more on it later. But when we started off, the kind of sustainability factor was kind of like a small bonus, you know, so something that was cute and nice and obviously a plus, but not kind of the core interest of our customers. Now it's front and center. Basically, it's the main topic of all our discussions and all of our partnerships, and that's really shifted. But yeah, so we chose Sweden not only because Peter Carlson is from Sweden. We did a broader search, but we found a great industrial background and knowledge. We found a good background in electricity and those kind of ventures, and also good logistics and good piece of land. But it all also come back to the good, clean, green energy that we use quite a lot of.
Thank you, Anders. So we'll get back to that sustainability. And of course, one part of it, as you said, is the clean energy and the access to power, and maybe also the cost of power in that sense, and industrial heritage. Tom, Freyr, you also have plans, as you said, in several countries now, but starting with Norway and Finland. If I understand your roadmap correctly here. Why is that? Why do you start with the Nordics here? But from maybe be in Norwegian as well.
Well, so I mean, our strategy, right, is kind of built on three core beliefs, and it's speed, scale, and sustainability, and they're equally important. And as to Northvolt's point, it's clear that sustainability is now left, right, and center in terms of what the customers are preoccupied with. And if I just take a little step back and just look at what batteries are intended to sort of contribute to, it's clear that the urgent decarbonization of transportation, but also energy systems globally, will in some way, shape, or form require huge amounts of batteries. And I don't think people really understand the magnitude of let's call it the storage requirement that is in front of us if we're going to stay within a 1.5 degree kind of scenario. If you look at the International Energy Agency's recent report, close to 50% of all investments going into the energy transition will be battery related in some way, shape, or form. And that's just such a massive thing, which of course is at the core intended to contribute to decarbonization. Therefore, if batteries are intended to be the core catalyst for decarbonization, they themselves need to be decarbonized. And that's why producing batteries in a region where not only access to renewable energy is plentiful and perspectives of additional renewable energy is plentiful, but we also have availability of raw materials, as per Vesa's point, in the Nordic region as well. And not least, we have centuries of track record in terms of converting raw materials sustainably into final product, and at that using renewable energy to do it. So part of the reason why we are in Norway and in Finland is really availability of renewable energy. It's availability of raw materials. It's a mindset of converting those raw materials to finished product with a very deep ethical and sustainable footprint, all of which is now also commercially important for an exponentially growing customer base. So I think it's kind of straightforward in a way to see the logic for why the Nordics. It is, as pointed out, availability of energy, relatively cheap energy, and relative is the big word here, but also raw materials and industrial acumen in terms of converting them to finished product. So we're super excited about it.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. And I think a lot of that sustainability, but also, as you said, also the kind of history of both production, as Anders also highlighted, and also the kind of excavation of material. And Stian, that goes a little bit back to the active materials. And why are you or Elkem doing this with Vianode now at this moment? in the Nordics?
I think you both touched on the history here, so I'll start a little bit with the history and actually go back to 1904 and January when four men met in Stockholm. It was Sam Eide, Swedish politician Knut Tillberg, and the Wallenberg brothers to really found Elkem and establish Elkem. So in fact, without this Nordic cooperation, Elkem may never have seen the light of day. The mission in 1904 was clear: create a new business based on natural resources and combining this with innovative technology. So basically, this is what we're doing today. And of course, the access to capital to grow this industry fast and become relevant is also essential for companies in Nordics to take a leading position. So I think the Nordics have a long transition in this material utilization and energy-intensive processes, and we know and have proven that we can be competitive in industrial markets with this production. And that's also back to Elkem. We got our kind of start here in Norway, and I think also when we're building a new business like we are doing with Vinode, kind of having the foundation from the Elkem company and combining this with kind of fast speed and scale is really essential. I think also for the Nordics, I'll just highlight a couple of other things. It's of course a highly educated workforce is very important. I think sharing a kind of society of trust, very non-hierarchical approach that enables quick decisions and agility, and really for the Nordics, where people really embrace new technology like electric vehicles and digitalization. And this is really exactly what we need in this green transition. So I think we as the Nordics is really well positioned to take a leading position and maintain a very important position in this market.
Thank you, Stian. And let us move also to Vesa's perspective. Obviously, Finnish mineral groups, you have the objective to, of course, build up the Finnish and also integrate in the Nordic battery value chain here. But why do you think that we have already are well positioned and hopefully can keep that and improve that position in the future in the Nordics?
Well, I think this was already touched quite well in the previous comments. So if we kind of look at the overall overarching target, why we are on this journey, and like Tom said, this is about the decarbonizing the whole energy system, and through that fight the climate change and fight the kind of the adverse impacts from there. And this is now the industry that has kind of seen that the electrification, for the first, is a route to go instead of kind of burning things. And then the secondly, it's about batteries, as that is the kind of a missing piece in making those this journey true. Then we come to the fact that, okay, where do you manufacture that and how do you kind of do that? And of course, in this region, Nordics as such, we have a very strong history and competencies in being a very sustainable and focusing on the environmental issues. So this is a natural spot. On top of that, if I'm kind of reflect then to our operations and what we are trying to do, we're very proud, starting from the Terrafame, for example, and the nickel production. They just completed an independent life cycle analysis process, which proved that the Terrafame nickel production has more than 60% lower CO2 footprint compared to the average nickel sulfate production. And this is to a large extent due to their very unique production process for those products. So this gives an excellent basis on it. Secondly, when we kind of look at battery production, it consists of many different components, many different materials, And if those can be produced with low CO2 footprint, like in Nordics, with the energy mix that we have, plus be able to produce locally with a very compact geographical space, avoiding the need of shipping materials around the globe X number of times, that obviously is good for both the environment in terms of the CO2 footprint, but we also feel that that makes a good logistical and financial sense. I mean, it is not free of charge to ship that stuff around the world. It's not cheap stuff.
And control of the supply chain there as well. I think all of you already were into the sustainability discussion here now. And I stopped you a little bit there, Anders, because I know this is very much at heart for Northvolt. You started to tell us a bit about Hydrovolt, or Revolt, and those parts, the kind of initiatives, but from maybe the basis, as we said, that we have the prerequisites with almost fossil-free energy production here. You are looking much deeper, I understand, into this. Would you like to expand now, as I stopped you last time, Anders, on your sustainability journey here?
Yes, so we have basically set out to create the world's greenest battery, or to be more precise, probably the world's greenest mass-produced battery. There will always be some kind of experimental batteries made out of wood that would kind of beat us on that one, but we feel that we're really moving along that target. And electricity, of course, is the kind of main factor of it. There is a huge difference if you produce a battery based on coal power or other carbon-based energy than wind or solar or hydro. So that's the big thing, and there we are also kind of working very closely together with Business Sweden and other players to get the entire supply chain into a clean grid as well. Because if our suppliers don't produce with clean energy, you kind of build into that carbon footprint. You build in the carbon footprint into the battery as well. So that's why we want to build the entire kind of battery ecosystem on a sustainable grid. But then if you can manage that, you have to move also and look to raw materials, where, for example, Finnish raw materials are very good because you produce them as sustainable as possible, and we try to push that as well. We can also help out with that, mainly by electrifying the mining industry, which we're doing together, for example, with Epiroc, making mines and mining even more sustainable. And then also you have the logistics chains as well, so you don't create a carbon footprint out of the transportation system, where we are, for example, doing our transports with electrical trucks, which will also be supplied with Northvolt batteries, and also looking at basically every step of that chain. And once you can secure those.
I see also, Anders, you're moving a little bit into the agriculture business also here as well.
Oh yes, yeah.
So that was, I didn't see that one coming.
Okay, yeah, no, you want me to touch on that?
Just very briefly, then we'll go further. But I think it's even wider definition of that.
Yeah, no, we produce a lot of salt. So salts are a byproduct of battery production. Historically, in Sweden, companies, not to mention any names, have basically just dumped that salt back into Mother Nature, basically into the Baltic Sea. It isn't as horrible as it sounds, but it is not that good. So we've been looking for a lot of different ventures with that salt, and now we can. We went public like a week ago, together with a company called Stinnes Fertilizer that will make fertilizer out of that salt, and also as an extra great bonus, create 2 minor factories.
I think
I shouldn't call them minor, but yeah.
You see the battery value chain even growing into agriculture here as well.
Yeah,
so really
and we will do a lot more of that. So we have a goal of creating a fully circular production, and that's just one a small but very fun part of it.
Thank you, Anders. Tom, you started actually, I think, with really addressing and one of the main reasons and also why you are in Norway now and then expanding out. Is there something more you would like to elaborate on with your vision then to really have the green batteries to complement the words already been said here?
Well, no, I think a lot has been said around this. Maybe just sort of highlighting the obvious point, or maybe not so obvious, right? But what we're really seeing. I mean, when Northvolt started out, sort of the journey and catalyzing the Nordic battery belt, if you like, the sort of perspective on demand for batteries at that time was obviously interesting and sort of a hockey stick kind of growth curve. But what is becoming abundantly clear for more and more sectors is that demand projections keep strengthening and keep building and keep going up. And just maybe sort of one quick reflection around that. If we're going to stay within striking distance again of the 1.5 degree target, we need to tenfold installed battery capacity as it stands today within the next 9 years. The capacity that we have globally today has taken 30 years to establish, and we need to tenfold it in a third of the time. And then we need to triple that capacity again. So I think that is only possible if sort of big regions and multiple companies across the entire spectrum of the value chain come together in collaborative approaches. It's such a lift if we're going to decarbonize these systems that collaboration is key. And the Nordic region has a tradition for doing that. And then that's why I think we will prevail as one of the sort of core hotspots for battery production across the entire value chain. So this is, again, super exciting for everyone participating.
Stian, thank you very much, Tom. There, Stian, I think for you already also mentioned the sustainability aspects as well. But of course, you kind of also, this is Vianode, is a new part of Elkem and starting up with the new innovations on the active material side. How do you see that, the sustainability and the innovation prerequisites here? Where are you heading? And is the Nordics the right place to be for that?
Yeah, I think, of course, it's obvious from nature's side. We're extremely lucky with access to all this renewable green energy. But I think when it comes to the sustainability here, it's also at the fundamental here is also to use less energy, less specific energy consumption to produce these batteries, to produce the materials that go into the batteries. And this is where we are developing. So I mentioned the 94% potential reduction in CO2 footprint in the materials that we can produce. This, of course, a large part of it is due to the green energy, but it's also about doing things smarter, using less energy, using more closed furnace technology, where that can enable both a more efficient use of the energy and also enabling energy recovery. I think with the background in Vianode has in Elkem, Elkem has got a huge focus on recovering energy and now recovering close to 1 terawatt hour per year through energy recovery systems. So we got a lot of background here in making the processes more efficient. I think also we talked here about recycling, which is also essential here. There has been a lot of focus, of course, to make this industry economically viable and, of course, also sustainable. Recycling is absolutely needed. There has been a lot of focus on the kind of expensive stuff like copper, nickel, cobalt, and so on. But we see that when this market becomes so big, we're literally talking millions of tons of anode materials that need to go into these batteries. Recycling also of the anode materials is essential to make this sustainable. So we in Vianode, besides kind of making virgin materials, we also have very interesting R&D activities on recycling the graphite from either end-of-life batteries or production scrap in the plants, getting very good results on those materials, reprocessing it back to new anode materials. So recycling also on the anode side is a very important part where we have a lot of emphasis.
And I understand when I see also on a global level that in the recycling field, we are in kind of here the Nordics really making the new technologies and the new innovations in many fields, but especially in recycling. Vesa, maybe you want to comment a little bit that on the kind of innovation perspective. You told us a little bit about your projects. That's one of your focus. But then you kind of also a driving motor in to see the competence and the innovation in Finland as well. How do you see your role and what's happening now on the innovation side? And do we get the right people here as well into these massive investments?
This is a really a crucial question, how to get the right competence and how to develop the right competence. And just kind of reflecting back on what was just said about the tenfold increase need of the battery. That, of course, then translates to a ballooning need on the whole supply chain, including the production of the relevant materials, so be that cathode or be that anode, like Stian just said. So this is a massive growth that is needed. And once that happens, is that it is very clear that the new technology development is needed there as well, both in terms of what the properties for the actual material are, but also how those are being produced. And in order to kind of meet that target and meet that demand, we are going to need a very strong competence development throughout these different steps and throughout particularly Nordics. And I feel that in Nordics we are in a rather good position due to our relatively high level of technological competencies already. So kind of transforming and transferring the right competence developments to these areas moving forward will be increasingly important.
Very good. And interesting there with the competence. We know that's going to be a challenge for all of us with also this massive expansion very fast now. I think, Tom, you mentioned there also how much we're going to actually need to build on a global level and the competence and doing that in innovative side as well. The Nordics are often ranked as in the top when it comes to innovation. I leave this as an open question to the panelists here now. Are we that also? Are we in the lead in innovation also in the fields of batteries? Anders?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
No one took the world, so...
Yeah, no, but at least from our side, we're definitely trying. We're currently investing $750 million into a battery campus in Västerås. So actually, Norfolk Labs that used to be just one house is actually turning into labs, plural, entire campus. And as we see it right now, it's kind of world unique. It is the only campus covering the entire production or ecosystem of batteries from production and all those development into recycling. So and I think especially in sustainability and in digitalization, I think we are world leading and aspire to stay that way and push the boundaries.
Tom, any final reflections on your side? We need to close up. I have millions more questions, and I know also the others as well, but we need to continue that discussion. But Tom, any reflections there on innovation, on competence, a challenge that we all go through here now?
Well, so I think we have a great starting point, right, with the lithium-ion battery. It's a reasonably nascent industry. It's 30 years old. The production processes haven't really changed that much since they were introduced. And of course, the theoretical, let's call it, performance characteristics of the metals that we are converting into various different shapes and forms, we are far from reaching the theoretical limits. So there is room to increase energy density, to drive down weight, to reduce costs, to sort of get close to 100% sort of uptime and full recyclability along the value chain, etc. So I mean, there's going to be very interesting times ahead, and the Nordic is the great place to do so.
Thank you. And thank you all panelists. Unfortunately, time flies and we need to move into the next session. Very much appreciated by Anders, Tom, Stian and Vesa. Let's continue the discussion and really interesting input there. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next in the agenda here now, we're going to move into a little bit of going back and looking into some of the innovative companies and some of the companies, actually also international companies, start to invest in Sweden. For this session, as Sweden is hosting, this will also be Swedish companies as investment in Sweden. But I think it also shows well what's happening in the Nordics. I move back to Jessica, my colleague in Oslo, Norway here. Please introduce us to these cases that we will see now.
Yes, thank you, Olof. And as you said, we talked a lot about in this first really interesting panel about innovation and the importance of it, and also how it will make a difference and going ahead and for the future. So now in between the panels, we want to highlight some really tangible innovations from Sweden. And as you said, one of many important foreign direct investments that we are so happy to have. So we will start off with Nordic. This is a software company able to gather big data knowledge and battery experience on the same table.
So what we've seen in the battery industry so far has been development of new lithium batteries. We've seen them being applied in cars first, and then some other electric vehicles, and then in micromobility with e-scooters and different kinds of toys, the drones and cell phones and so on. We still see that the main focus is on the development and use of new vehicles. We're going to see how the batteries are being used, if it's possible to put them in a second life before recycling them, but also then, of course, recycling them more efficient. And there we can see a lot of different actors working with different parts of that value chain, but that value chain is coming. And we think by providing intelligence through data in that supply chain, we can make it more efficient regardless of what the specific choices in the chain are.
The uniqueness in Nordic is that we are able to gather both data, big data knowledge and battery expertise together on the same table for the first time. We have a short and quick development process to find and develop new tools to understand batteries much better.
Another unique factor about Sweden, I think, it's that it's so many highly technical, competent people with a lot of creativity that actually being able to go into the startup sphere. Another big factor of being able to be an innovative company is, of course, getting the competencies and the people into our business that we need. And I think, of course, many of us having worked internationally before, the Nordics stick out as a place where you can kind of get people who are very naturally into an innovative process. It's something that comes from middle school and upwards. Of course, through technical universities, we get drilled hard to think in an innovative and team-working kind of way. Our focus, our sustainability efforts are focused around making the use of these already created batteries more efficient. Because if we can prolong battery life, we don't need as many batteries. If we can create a second life for a battery, we don't need as many batteries. And of course, if we can create a more efficient use of batteries, then batteries will be cheaper. And cheaper battery means that more companies, more people, more solutions can be electrified. For us, every battery is an IoT unit, and we wouldn't be able to do anything of what we're doing if we're not able to get data from these connected batteries.
Digitalization really helps us actually gather real battery data from how batteries are being used. We are able to understand real usage patterns and don't have to rely on test data. We have, without digitalization, we would be blind and we would not be able to understand optimization potentials of batteries. The challenges of tomorrow lies in shaping and making the value chain of batteries to a more circular and sustainable value chain.
Thank you so much, Axel and Pavel. You are a true example on how digitalization and batteries are one. Every battery is an IoT unit, you said, thereby impacting sustainability and, by using your words, making batteries more efficient and create a second life. Thank you so much. And now we will move on to APR Technologies. This is an innovative company having made a cross-sector movement from space to batteries.
This is APR Technologies, and I'm Peter Nilsson, the CEO of the company. We developed cooling solutions for electronics and batteries, originally for space applications, but now we intend to use this for battery systems. When this whole automotive industry is going through a sustainable revolution and you electrify and you change the supply chain, it's really space for new innovative players, and it's possible to find the right place in the supply chain, and that's what we hope we can find a spot where we collaborate with battery suppliers, with the battery pack manufacturers and the OEMs and so on.
For sustainability reasons, I think it's really important that the liquid cooling that we're using in our solution is easy to recycling, and also when it's used in the battery module has a fire retardant improvement.
When bringing in new technology into the system, it's quite difficult, but I think there is some kind of acceptance to do that. There is here in Sweden a curiosity to look into new technologies, and also there is an innovative system where we help each other and we bring together the new solutions from the small startup companies to the larger companies and to help it on the commercial road. We have been an industrial country for many, many years. And in Sweden here, we also build electric power lines for trains and now for electric vehicles and so on. So I think we have a good situation here in Sweden. In this region of Sweden, we've been able to hire really good people with unique expertise in different areas. And then in a collaborative environment, they're able to collaborate and solve things on a system level that is very difficult otherwise.
I think that sustainability is of great importance both for our company, but also in achieving the Agenda 2030 goals for the whole climate change. And I also think that if electrification is going to be a success, you will need much, much more efficient battery modules with the cooling that we can provide. Well, I can see that the battery industry has to greatly increase the range of the batteries. I think also that you have to develop much more fast charging without lesser lifetime for the battery modules.
Thank you, Peter and Helena. It is great to hear how your cooling solutions increase both efficiency and security of the battery. Next up, in March 2021, it was made public. Jensen Senior Technology Material invests in battery component production in Sweden for lithium-ion separators. Let's hear their take on this.
The EU's ambitious target to reduce CO2 emission for new cars and vans is creating unique pace of changes for Europe. If Europeans want to reach their goal, being first the climate neutral continent by 2050, Innovation is what makes us competitive. We set the pace in China actually, and we will continue to have the innovations in area of high performance weight process space film, and also the good safety coating technologies, and also the newest technologies for separate, including new materials and new separators for new battery technologies. We weren't able to operate in this battery industry, and if we don't have the sustainability of our core part of our business, and we are committed to the energy conservation and also the emission reduction, and it's reflected to our new strategic sustainability framework, and the sustainability is now just a part of Senior's business. The battery industry is on the way of being more cost effective with high efficiency production system. The Sweden and Nordics cost effective and green energy, and also a good manufacturing base is one of the main reasons why Senior be part of the value chain here. Eskilstuna is our first location in Europe, and this city also has a long history of manufacturing, and also it has strong transportation links to our customers, which is important for our value chain and our business. Digitalization is part of Senior's future. The way we work today is defended by technology. It is a key driver for innovation and creativity. And it is also so exciting to think of the future opportunities and where it can take us to in the future. Battery industry is just get started, and the future is full of potential.
Thank you so much, Leia. We are so happy to have you with us in the Nordic ecosystem for batteries. And I agree with you, the battery industry is just getting started. Well, that was that from us. Olof, what do you think? Quite impressive, right?
Really impressive. I think both the technologies, and I think some of that will actually link into the next panel as well. Now we had some great both technology companies, and very important for us in the Nordic as well, our international collaboration partners. And I think Senior is a very important part of that. I think also mentioned by several in the other panels as well. We need to get the full value chain here. So I'm actually eager to start the next panel here, Jessica. And I think we now have had the perspective in the first panel on cell production and really having a sustainable full value chain, also into everything from raw material into having a battery ready to use. But very important of that is, of course, application. And I'm really happy that we have a strong panel now with 4 different examples of leading Nordic companies who really move into electromobility in different ways. We have everything from trucks, buses, marine vessels, and mining equipment. And this is, of course, also where the battery development and the need of battery is being done. So let me now introduce the next panel here. First, we have Daniel Troedsson, who is Head of Battery Optimization and Monitoring at Volvo Energy. I think everyone knows Volvo, but there's 2 Volvos. And Daniel, you're part of the Volvo AB, trucks, buses, special machines or construction machines, and special motors. Also, we have your colleague in the industry from Scania, Anders Folkesson, Chief Engineer at Battery Development. Also, Scania have the same kind of line of business, and I think we're very fortunate to have 2 strong leaders in the kind of long haul and public transport and construction business from both of you. Then we have Egil Mollestad from SEM, Zero Emission Maritime Solutions, CEO of what I think is the pioneer into the marine sector and the mobility on everything from passenger to also transport and services, and how we use the batteries there. And finally, we have Mark Ryan, who is Vice President, Equipment Offering and R&D at Normet, one of our great companies working with making the mining, especially underground mining and tunneling, more sustainable with your equipment also moving into e-mobility. Thank you all for joining. What an interesting discussion this will be. I will start a bit with a short kind of give you the words a bit to show where you are on your journey at the moment. And I'll start with you, Daniel. I see Volvo you have a very ambitious and strong journey for the Volvo Group as a whole, and you set up very ambitious goals for 2030. But you also started now as a new business unit, this Volvo Energy that you represent us. Tell us a little bit more about the Volvo roadmap and about Volvo Energy.
Yeah, it's correct. We have a very ambitious target, and I really enjoy, and I think it's the really right thing to do, that we commit to the Paris Agreement. I really think that's the right thing to do. But if we are a little bit more concrete, I mean, what we do within the Volvo Group is really to accelerate the transformation towards electrification. Besides that, I would say also we accelerate our ambition regarding sustainability. But if we dig in a little bit more to what Volvo Energy does, and we actually do really a lot of different things, of course, but the two things I like to mention. The first one is the charging and infrastructure, where we do really a lot. But what I think you have noticed is that we partner up with Traton and Daimler. And I think this is really good how we invest quite a lot of money into that area and also demonstrate the way we can do partnership within the Nordic countries. So I think that is super interesting. The second thing I like to mention is, of course, the batteries, where we work quite a lot. And the major thing, I think, would be to move over to a circular economy here, looking into what we can do along the circle and take the juice out of the battery in each step. A little bit what you have heard of from previous panels. So in short, fulfill the Paris Agreement, important part for us. Accelerate the transformation towards electrification, and two focus areas, charging infrastructure and batteries.
Thank you very much, Daniel, on that side. Let's hear more about that just soon here. Anders, Scania, you were early to commit to the science-based targets now and have had an ambitious roadmap of sustainability and now moving heavily into e-mobility ambitiously. See that on the partnership with Northvolt, your battery assembling, packaging in Södertälje, etc. Tell us a little bit more on the journey that you are in at the moment, Anders.
Thank you for having me here. As you mentioned, I mean, we are committed to the Paris Agreement, to the science-based targets for our whole operation. And we are dedicated to drive the shift towards a sustainable transport systems for all our areas we're active into. And electrification is, of course, a main part, and it will be the main path forward. But it's not only electrification. Our sustainability strategy relies on. It's based on 3 pillars: energy efficiency, always, maybe even more important when it comes to electrification, and secure operating range for our customers running battery electric vehicles. It's also renewable fuels and electrification as such. That's the second pillar. The third one, and I think we're coming into that a little bit later, it's about smart and safe transport. But as mentioned, we were the first commercial vehicle OEM to commit to the science-based target, which is approved by the Science-Based Target Initiative by United Nations, World Resource Institute, and the Worldwide Fund of Nature. And I would also like to start also with a few words on our way of building vehicles that is sort of key to our success in the business so far, and that is our modular system. We have a very structured way of building up our vehicles. All components and subcomponents are divided into different performance steps, available in different performance levels or performance steps, so that the customer can tailor their products exactly according to their needs. And that goes into all subcomponents that we have, and of course also batteries in the future, since the batteries will be the heart of the battery electric vehicle. It's actually the most expensive part or system we have ever put in one of our vehicles. So we need to be best in class on that one, of course. And that's why we need to do it in-house. We need to be on top of this area. And so we are building a brand new battery lab. We're building a brand new battery factory where we will produce both modules and complete battery packs for our vehicles. And we are restructuring and expanding our modular system now to include also battery electric vehicles. We have launched the first products, and we will launch products every year now. And we will have long haulage products being able to operate according to the rest time regulations, 4.5 hours, 80 kilometers per hour, somewhere around 2025. That's our ambition. So it's important.
Very good. Thank you, Anders. And I think really inspiring here now to not only at these kind of webinars talk about the PVs, now we see the whole kind of transport sector moving into electromobility. And one part that maybe on sustainability has been a little bit behind, even though it's a very efficient way of transporting, is of course the marine part. So I'm really happy that Egil, you are kind of paving the way here with SEM on that side. Tell us a little bit about, you started a lot already and have some really good projects or deliveries in Norway.
Yes, thank you for your introduction. I just have to say that actually we are also a part of the Volvo AV group. You may know that Volvo Penta actually acquired 60% of our company 1st of June, so we are now part of the big Volvo family, and we are very happy with that. However, the background of this company actually goes back to the 1990s, where we had this small Norwegian EV producer called Think. So we started to work with batteries and electric drivelines in the 1990s, made about 3,500 of this little city vehicle. So we know quite well, we had quite a good background in batteries, different types of chemistries, etc., and drivelines. And from 2010, 11 and onwards, we have now taken that knowledge and that heritage and used it for the marine sector. We have our head office here at the DNV GL campus in just outside Oslo, and been working close with DNV on rules for battery systems in marine sector on ships. I've run battery courses, consultancy work, and since 2015 we have also delivered battery systems for vessels. We delivered our first system to an offshore supply vessel 6 years ago, has been in operation since then. And between then and now, we have about 40, soon 50 projects where we have installed quite big battery systems and also electric drivelines on ships. Everything from supply vessels, from passenger ferries, from car ferries, different type of workboats. We see a very great interest in what we and our competitors are doing in this sector. There is a booming interest for these sort of solutions, and we really see a very exciting future for electrification and use of battery systems to optimize energy usage and reduce fuel emissions on ships. It's both full electric ships for the short distances crossing fjords and rivers and harbor areas, but also hybrid installation for ships that have a bigger need for for long distances.
Very good. Thank you very much, Egil. And let's get back to that. I think in a very important part of the transport sector. And Mark, you play an important role in the kind of underground transportation sector or the mining sector, which is, of course, also linking a little bit into the sustainability of the production, or as we discussed before. But tell us a little bit more on Normet and what you are doing at the moment.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe let give you guys a little bit first a background who Normet is, and then maybe we could talk a little bit about where our journey. So Normet, we provide advanced solutions for selected customer processes in mining, underground mining and tunneling. So we're predominantly an underground equipment provider. In addition to that, we are in existence for 59 years. Actually, next year we'll have our 60th birthday, so that's pretty exciting. We have over 1,400 experts globally. We have 50 offices globally, and we have produced over 14,000 machines for the underground mining and tunneling business. So pretty much where there's a hole in the ground in the world, you'll probably find us. With regards to us and innovation, innovation has always been a core part of what we do at Normet. And I think it's been one of the reasons why we've always been so successful as a company is the fact that we pride ourselves in being the first in the market with new innovation, new technology. So it's very much core for us. And we're all the time striving to offer our customers improved safety, sustainability technologies, better profitability technologies. And that also includes reduction in CO2 production, waste. Mining and tunneling operations are incredibly energy intensive. So for us, this has always been sort of a key part, not only in the battery technology, but in all the processes we're involved in. Then if we talk about the battery journey for us, or the battery electric equipment journey for us, our battery electric equipment is called Smart Drive. We launched our first Smart Drive machine at Bauma in 2019. That was a sprayed concrete machine. And since then, it's been a pretty wild journey for us. We've been incredibly busy developing an entire fleet of BEV or battery electric vehicles. And today, we have vehicles in Australia, Chile, Canada, Russia, Norway, Finland. And demand is huge. And so we're really in a quite a hurry to continue our journey in this area. And I think our customers really understand the benefits of what we do. And in addition to that, I think it's quite exciting to be part of this evolution that's going to happen in our business, mining and tunneling, where with these machines as enablers, our customers are able to think about different mining and tunneling design, reduction in their ventilation, for instance, which is a huge energy consumer, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a background of Normet.
Thank you very much, Mark. A wild journey, you said, and I think that wild journey all of you are in now, and an exciting journey, I hope, and very important. So, we discussed in the previous panel about why the Nordics and why this has started, and we hope to continue to be really one of the major hubs for battery development and battery application on a global level. I think I would like to integrate actually two questions a little bit. If you both, maybe if something you would like to say additional to the Nordics, a lot has been said, and a lot of it has to do with sustainability. And here on the sustainability side, I know you have a very strong ambition both on how your vehicle, vessels or machines are being used, but also, of course, how you look in the battery and the use of battery on that side. We also actually here got a question from our viewers who want to know how important the fully integrated European battery supply chain is to you. And I'll start to address that question first to you, Daniel, at Volvo. So I give you a little bit of both a little bit if there's something additional to the Nordics, but a little bit more on double click on the sustainability part and what you're doing now.
Yeah. And of course, the complete, sustainability part for us is extremely important. For me, it's very important that we try to take the juice out of every bit and pieces which is possible. So I definitely agree. It is super important. But then, I mean, coming back to the Nordic, I really like to emphasize the collaboration, how we work together, which is something I like to stress. And I think we have demonstrated that in a couple of cases, for example, together with IKEA, DFDS here, where we sort of sit down together, everyone puts on the table what they can contribute with, and we start to work on a solution. Maybe not the most optimal solution, but there is a extreme willingness in order to push the electrification towards the user as well. So I think that is very interesting. So that's something I like to mention here.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. No, and being there close to actually end customers and co-innovate sounds like a good basis to be at. If I turn to you, Anders from Scania, maybe if you want to add something there, and maybe also a little bit on how you see the Nordic value chain or even the European value chain. We cannot do everything here in the Nordics, and how important that is for you now when you are kind of shifting your production into new means.
I fully agree with what was said there in this cooperation that we have with customers. I think that goes for both Volvo and Scania, this very close cooperation that we normally have. But what I would like to stress in addition is the need of being close between R&D, purchasing, production, because the development is now going extremely fast. So we need to constantly iterate our products. We have much shorter cycles in R&D, and the OEM with most iterations in the end will actually have the best product and will win the market. So that's one reason why it's important to have things close by, so to say. We cannot wait for several months to have something shipped from another part of the globe if we want to be quick and agile on the market. So that's really important. Another thing is a little bit connected to this cooperation that we have between customer and us as OEMs. I think that goes also towards the supply chain that we have because we have Volvo Cars and Scania in the Nordics. That's why because of that we have a very well built up supply chain already existing, and we normally do a lot of things in partnership. If something is good for our customers, it's good for us, and that goes also to our suppliers. If a supplier is successful, they deliver better to us. So it's really about cooperation that we maybe not see in other parts of the world. Is that clear?
Thank you. So cooperation once again, and a collaboration both with the end user customer of your products and also with your suppliers. Egil, you have, being there in one of the leading marine nations, I believe you have a strong customer base which also are driving that. Could you also maybe integrate a little bit on how you see that position, but also is it possible to make the marine sector sustainable? And how do you do that, Egil?
Well, for sure, it is possible, but again, you have to take one step at a time. And we are now in a sort of a early phase of this development, I would say, starting up with going from the heavy fuel oil to more marine diesel or into natural gas, and now we are into batteries and also fuel cells, and so there is a continuous development there. For sure, battery systems are mainly for short distance shipping, harbor areas and coastal areas for the time being. But what we see now is that due to the rapid development in the battery systems, higher energy density, better packaging, good life, etc. We see that the area where we can provide good battery solutions are sort of growing and being bigger and bigger. Started out with these very short distances. We are now looking into these fast ferries on the west coast where you should go in 3-4 hours in 30 knots, and you need maybe 10-15 megawatt hour of energy. And we see that we are now approaching that area where it's possible actually to equip such type of vessels with batteries. So as was said from the Scania people man here, you really have to be on top on the development and use the latest technology and have a close cooperation with those providing the best technology to be in the front of this development, because it goes so fast now, and we see that we can do stuff today that we couldn't do 2 years ago, and I'm sure we have widened our area where we can provide good battery solutions a few years from now. Yeah.
Thank you, Egil. Exciting. Mark, I think your way of looking now and making your part of the mining sector sustainable, you started to explain a little bit on how you're also looking into the integrated system in both charging and utilizing the energy that you actually get down. Tell us a little bit more on the kind of the sustainability aspect and how you maximize that.
Yeah, I think with regards to sustainability, I think the guys on the call today, they really touched on it. It's not just about the batteries itself, but it's about the supply chains, being close to your vendors, having that collaboration and openness with your vendors. And that's why I think being situated in the Nordics we all sort of think alike, and we all understand the importance of close collaboration and trust. We talk about supply chain lines, etc. So to keep them as short as possible. So operating in the Nordics, operating in Europe makes a lot of sense to us. If we think then about the products themselves, I think that with regards to sustainability, for us, I see the battery electric equipment as an enabler to allow our customers to be able to sort of think a bit differently about how they do things. And I think one of the trends that often people don't understand is that with regards to tunneling and mining, the actual technical difficulties and the technical challenges are getting harder and harder. So actually, this is also an enabler for that. We're seeing trends where our customers have to go further away, more remote, at higher altitude, at lower depths, to be able to achieve their targets. So as a result, I see that this technology is also an enabler to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And all kinds of different challenges related to that.
Thank you, Mark. Daniel, I turn back you to Volvo. You started a little bit with the sustainability discussion, and we saw one company, also Nordic, previously talking about using digital methods also to kind of survey how important in both kind of the technical innovation but also sustainability is what we think is also the digital lead we have here in the Nordics.
Yeah. I mean, data, I would say, is the new oil. So for me, it's super important that we get detailed information about the battery, but also having full control of the flow of the batteries in order to be able to optimize. And these you need really along the complete life cycle. So for us, that is very important, definitely.
And also moving into then Anders, and at the Scania side, you mentioned a little bit on the supply chain and using also technology, but could you maybe also address, I think it's so interesting now, what you see in the charging infrastructure and what you see also your collaboration with Volvo and with also the Daimler Group. I assume charging infrastructure and that kind of how it integrates with the battery is one of the challenges you address now. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the key. Battery electric vehicles have the sort of full potential to be the next also long haulage powertrain solution that we didn't think about, I would say 5 years ago. It has gone extremely fast, but it's of course dependent on that you can stop and charge when you need to have your rest along the highway. So the build-up of a charging infrastructure, fast chargers for commercial vehicles is really the key. But we see that happen, and we want to speed that up, and that's why we have this partnership with Daimler and Volvo. So that's absolutely the key. And I would also like to hook on to what was said there on information about batteries, because I think it's two parts in this. First, we need to fully understand the operation of the customer before they buy a solution or a vehicle from us, to sort of understand fully not only their operation from a technical perspective, but also from a business perspective. Where do they have costs? Where do they have revenues? And it's the full system that we need to optimize together with the customer upfront. And then we need to monitor to get the absolutely most out of our batteries or the customer's batteries over the lifetime. And here we really need to have good technical systems to collect all that data and analyze all that data.
Thank you, Anders. Egil, what needs to be done now in order to really do the long distances, and what needs to be done in the battery side for you to succeed and continue and implement electromobility in the marine sector?
Yeah, there are the key question and the key element here is, of course, that everything we put on board a ship has to be safe. And we all know that there are batteries, lithium-ion batteries, they can burn, they can develop battery gases that can explode, and there has been a couple of accidents. So safety has to be sort of in the bottom of everything we do. When that's said, of course, then it is big systems. It's a lot of energy you need to drive a ship over long distances. So we need high energy density, we need good volume density, but we also need a lot of cycles, because these are commercial vessels used 24 hours a day, all year round. So we need both good life, good energy density, and very, very safe systems. And they shouldn't cost too much, because if it's too expensive, we are not able to sell the systems.
Thank you. Unfortunately, time flies. I would like to have gone even deeper into, I think, Daniel, you mentioned the second life of batteries. I know you have a vision on how to utilize into the full chain until you recycle, and all of you are taking a big responsibility in that. Let us hope that we can soon meet again to continue this discussion. And a big applaud and thank you to you in the panel, Daniel, Anders, Egil, and Mark. Great, keep up the great work, and thank you for sharing your thoughts and ideas here as well. Because we are actually now in the end of our session here now. And it has been a lot of input, a lot of, I think, what we would like to discuss even deeper. But I turn now quickly to Jessica and see what, without saying once again maybe that we would like to continue, how would you summarize kind of your key takeaways from today?
All our panelists has kind of emphasized where this industry is going right now, and that sustainability isn't an option, that it's the main topic today, and that we need collaboration to do it, that each player put their capabilities on the table, and then we start collaborate and co-create was one of many really good quotes from today, and that we need closeness in the value chain. Safety is crucial. Of course, charging infrastructure is an enabler for everything, and the way Norman put it, the electric fleet from them is an enabler for the client to think differently. And I think this needs to be done both for B2C as well as B2B clients ahead. So many great takeaways from today, and as you say, of course, we will discuss this further.
Thank you, Jessica. And thank you all for logging in and listening today, either live or if you do in the follow-up kind of recorded session. Remember to use the B2B platform to meet up out of these 576, at least registered yesterday, participants to really continue in one-to-one discussions. And I hope we see you at the next webinar in this Nordic Battery Thursday. Next time it will be Norway hosting, and then we will dig a little bit deeper into what has been the success factor for Norway there with being a lead of implementation of EV solutions, both for PVs and also in public transport. Further, of course, the marine sector. And finally, I also would like to push a little bit for our last webinar on December 9th with the Battery Alliance, European Battery Alliance taking over. And then we will discuss policy and others. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon again.